Good morning, January 29th. Walking by faith. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. Imagine you've gone through a difficult experience in your life, and you're fearful of what the future might hold. To encourage you, a friend says, you can do it one day at a time. Remember, just walk by religion, not by sight. Walk by religion? To a biblically literate Christian, the very sound of that phrase is off-putting, to say the least. You probably know what Paul really said in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. We walk by faith, not by sight. But even the idea of walking by faith seems contrary to common sense. If we walked by religion, we would at least have a tangible structure, things that are seen to pin our hopes on. Buildings, traditions, schedules, liturgies, ministers, and the like. If we walk by faith, we have only the promises of God, but we also have the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. We not only have God's promises, but we also have the evidence from thousands of years of history that He has kept His promises to those who trust Him, and He will keep His promises to you. If you are facing an uncertain future, and who isn't, remember to walk by faith. Faith in the God who promises He will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. To complete the verse of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, faith is the substance of hope, the evidence of things not seen. One of my favorite verses. Walking by faith means being prepared to trust where we are not permitted to see. John Blanchard. Good evening. Freedom has responsibility. Live as free men, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as servants of God. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 16. Freedom is a much abused word. It is used to rouse people to rebellion, and heinous crimes are committed in its name. Those who follow false leaders promising freedom usually find themselves trapped in a new form of slavery. True freedom can only be experienced if the human spirit is liberated from hate, meanness, and envy, because true freedom is spiritual in nature and can only be known by those who love and serve God. The vast majority of people live in slavery, even though they may be unaware of the fetters that bind them. Their preconceived ideas and false thought patterns are reflected in their negative attitudes, irascible tempers, hate, and bitterness. The message of the Christian gospel brings freedom for everyone who is held captive by the destructive influences that control their souls. The living Christ forgives our sins and frees us from the shackles of the evil one. As you experience the blessing of God's deliverance, you will be transformed into a new, free person who lives in harmony, peace, and love with God and your fellow human beings.
We walk by faith and not by sight. But for you, that has an entirely different meaning. It's so real for you. You literally are not walking by sight. You are walking by faith. But what gives you eyes to see things that the rest of us often overlook or are blind to is the promises of God.